I'm certainly not the first person to be tired of open world game design, given the countless videos and threads discussing the topic. However, I do think there's a way to incorporate elements of open world design to create engaging and cohesive experiences. And that's by using a semi-open world. Before we delve into that though, let me give you a quick rundown on the current state of open world games. AAA studios are churning out numerous open world titles every year, some turning out better than others. For every great title, it seems we get about a dozen mediocre ones. However, every few years a game raises the bar significantly. Examples include The Witcher 3 for its side quests, Red Dead Redemption 2 for its attention to detail, and Elden Ring for its approach to exploration. When an open world is done right, it can truly enhance the experience. The freedom of approach, emergent systems, and the thrill of seeing something in the distance and being able to explore it are aspects that appeal to almost every gamer. The problem is that somewhere along the line, the open world game became a template to follow, and originality got thrown out the window. Ever since Ubisoft had massive success with the Assassin's Creed and Far Cry series, we've seen countless cookie-cutter clones of these games. You know what I mean. The over-designed UI with quest markers everywhere. The same old boring filler missions scattered across the map. The checklist style of collectibles and gathering. The list goes on. It's like it became a contest for developers to create bigger and bigger maps, and every game had to become open world. The thing I dislike most about this trend is that the narrative and pacing often suffers because of this design choice. I love video games as a storytelling medium, and some of these games actually have awesome stories hidden beneath all that busy work. I love The Witcher 3 as much as the next person. It has amazing main and side quests. However, there's a significant dissonance between the urgent main quest of finding your daughter who's in danger and taking the time to complete just one more quest to get that rare Gwent card.
Up for a few rounds of Gwent?
The same goes for Cyberpunk 2077, where you basically have a ticking time bomb in your head, but you're free to spend months of in-game time doing whatever you like, as long as you don't progress the main quest. I get it, not all people play games for the same reasons, and that's fine. But it seems like AAA developers often overlook a type of world design that in my opinion takes the best of both worlds. I'm talking about a design where you get a great narrative that's well paced, along with meaningful side content that doesn't feel like busy work. This design is what I refer to as the semi-open world. While there isn't a concrete definition for this term, I want to take the time to explore what it means to me personally. There are a couple of variations of a semi-open world that I feel work really well. The first are chapter-based games that have smaller open world zones within them. A perfect example of this is The Witcher 2. After you complete the prologue, you enter the first chapter, which takes place in and around Flotsam, a small river port. The main quest is to leave this town, but it's only possible if you slay a large beast that has been terrorizing the area. While you figure out how to kill this beast, you are free to explore Flotsam and its surroundings. It's not a huge area, but it's very dense and packed with side quests that make sense in the context of the world. A lot of these are presented to you organically while exploring, so it feels rewarding to go the extra mile.
You'll betray no one else, Sylvie, bitch.
I don't know what you're talking about!
Commandant Dorito will explain everything.
You've no right!
I'm not!
What's going on here?
Another big plus of these smaller zones is that they often have a more handcrafted feel, as opposed to the empty feeling worlds of many bigger titles. The biggest takeaway from this style, in my opinion, is that the game encourages and rewards exploration, but does so in a controlled manner, preventing you from feeling overwhelmed and helping you keep that main quest in mind. I think older BioWare titles like Mass Effect 1 and Dragon Age Origins do a wonderful job at this. They have excellent narratives while giving the player just enough space to explore and do side content. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines also excels at gradually opening up the playable space. And most recently, Baldur's Gate 3 knocked this aspect out of the park. Alright, time for the next variation. This one strays the furthest from the open world format, but borrows enough from it to justify its own section. I'm talking about mostly linear games that have levels or areas that open up and allow for exploration. These games are usually very narrative driven, and I personally love the inclusion of these wider levels to avoid the feeling of being completely on rails. The first time I saw this design used was back in 2009 with Call of Juarez Bound in Blood. It's a Western FPS game that played like any other shooter from that era. But developer Techland included 2 chapters in the game that were like, here's a huge open map, go have fun and do some side activities. I absolutely loved this back in the day. But after revisiting the game for this video, I can see it's all a bit bare bones. Still, I love the concept of it. After Call of Juarez, I've seen this design implemented a few more times, but to my knowledge it's still quite rare. Notable examples include the 2013 reboot of Tomb Raider and its sequels, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, The Last of Us Part 2, A Plague Tale: Requiem, and Metro Exodus, a game that's high on my to-play list. From what I've seen of the game, Metro Exodus seems to have the blend between linear and non-linear design down perfectly. Are there any examples I missed in this category? Please let me know in the comments down below. The third variation I want to highlight are games that use interconnected zones. These games come very close to being open world, but don't give the player complete freedom. The first game I want to highlight is Pokemon Fire Red. The Pokemon games have zones that are gated behind certain moves that require gym badges. In Fire Red, after you beat the second gym, you are free to challenge the next 5 gym leaders in any order you like, allowing you to explore the zones connected to them. This flexibility gives the game a nice sense of freedom, without overwhelming the player, and adds a lot of replay value. It's a shame that later games have become more and more linear. Another game that does these interconnected zones nicely is Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl. It's a mostly linear game with larger connecting maps that reward exploration. But the absolute king of interconnected levels is of course the original Dark Souls. Not even FromSoft themselves have ever topped Dark Souls' Lord Run in terms of level design. Just take a look at this 3D render. It's an absolute work of art. Game Maker's Toolkit did an episode on Dark Souls and created a flowchart of the possible routes through the game. The number of different approaches you can take is crazy. I highly recommend you watch the full video if you want a deep dive into Dark Souls. I'll put the link to their video in the description down below. Now we finally arrived at the last variation of the semi-open world, the hub and spoke design. In this setup, everything revolves around a central location. From this hub, you venture out into different areas or levels throughout the game, while regularly returning to it. It's like a base of operations, a home if you will. The central hub usually serves as a narrative anchor, where key story elements unfold, characters develop, and new missions are assigned. Starting from this hub and gradually exploring new areas allows players to learn game mechanics and strategies incrementally. This prevents new players from feeling overwhelmed and lets them learn the game at their own pace. Here are some examples of games that use this technique to the fullest. Shadow of the Colossus, Dishonored, and really any game made by Arcane Studios, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, God of War 2018, Resident Evil Village, and Bully, although Bully could also be considered a chapter-based game. And there you have it, some alternatives to fully open world games. I tried to fit all of these games neatly into categories, but truth be told, it's more of a spectrum. I'm no game developer, and a game's design rarely fits perfectly into a box, but I try to make sense of it in my own way. I realize there are a lot of obvious examples missing, like many Nintendo games and JRPGs, but those are a bit of a blind spot for me. I'm sure you will remind me of them in the comments. So, what's the cure for open world fatigue? To me, it all boils down to pacing, balancing player freedom, and preventing players from becoming overwhelmed. I'd like less filler and more meaningful content in my games. To developers, I say, take a look at these games and incorporate some of their design elements into your next project. And to the rest of the people watching this video, you've just got a ton of recommendations to try out. Enjoy them! Thanks for watching my video. If you have any topics you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd also really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. Alright, that's it from me. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.